The scanners were having what I can only describe as a complete nervous breakdown. Commander Vex 9 stared at the readings, his three eyes blinking in perfect sequence like some bizarre biological metronome. The numbers made absolutely no sense. 0 metallic signature, 0 engine emissions, 0 heat trail, 0 everything that should exist when something falls from space. Yet there she was, streaking through our atmosphere like a comet made of flesh and bone. "Tell me again what you are seeing, Operative Kane," Vex 9 said, his voice carrying that special tone reserved for moments when reality decides to take a vacation. I adjusted my scanner array, hoping the machines would suddenly develop a sense of humor, and admit they were joking. "Sir, I'm reading one humanoid lifeform descending at terminal velocity. No protective gear, no spacecraft, no parachute, no anti-grav field, no anything that should prevent her from becoming a very unpleasant stain on our surface. And she's alive? Vitals are strong, sir. Heart rate elevated, which frankly seems reasonable under the circumstances." Vex 9's mandibles clicked in what I'd learned was his species' equivalent of a frustrated sigh. "Kai, prep the recovery team. If she somehow survives impact, I want samples. If she doesn't survive impact, I want samples. Either way, we are at her answers." The human female continued her impossible descent, and I couldn't help but admire her commitment to defying physics. She wasn't screaming, wasn't flailing, wasn't doing any of the things you'd expect from someone experiencing what should be their final moments. Instead, she appeared to be calculating something. "Sir," I said, voice cracking slightly, "she's adjusting her trajectory." "What do you mean adjusting?" "I mean she's changing direction mid-fall, without propulsion, without wings, without any visible means of altering her descent path." Vex 9 grabbed the scanner from my hands, his claws scraping against the metal. His eyes went wide, then narrow, then wide again. "This is impossible. Humans don't have natural flight capabilities. They are barely more advanced than the primitive species we use for food testing." "Maybe she's not human. The DNA scans say otherwise. She's definitely human. Definitely female. Definitely about to make our day significantly more complicated." The atmospheric entry had begun 15 minutes ago. Most objects would have reached surface impact by now. This human seemed to be taking the scenic route, spiraling down in lazy arcs that suggested she was either enjoying the view or planning something we weren't going to like. "Contact General Thorne," Vex 9 ordered. "Tell him we have a situation." I hesitated. General Thorne was not known for his patience with impossible situations. He preferred his impossibilities to be clearly explained, properly documented, and ideally resolved before they reached his attention. "Sir, what exactly should I tell him?" "Tell him that our peaceful little mining operation just became the landing site for what appears to be an indestructible human woman with a complete disregard for the laws of physics. He's going to want specifics. Then give him specifics. Tell him she fell from orbit without a ship. Tell him she's steering her fall like she's driving a hovercar. Tell him our sensors can't detect anything that explains how she's still alive, let alone conscious." The communication system crackled to life. General Thorne responded. "Operative Kane, I trust you have an excellent explanation for why you are interrupting my strategy session with tales of flying humans." I cleared my throat. "Sir, we have visual confirmation of a human female in uncontrolled atmospheric entry. No spacecraft detected, no survival equipment detected. Current altitude is, well, she should have hit the ground by now. Should have. She's still falling, sir, and she appears to be maneuvering." The silence stretched long enough for me to wonder if the communication system had failed. Finally, Thorne's voice returned, carrying the careful tone of someone trying very hard not to sound concerned. "Operative Kane, I'm going to ask you a direct question, and I want a direct answer. Are you telling me that a human being is currently falling from space without any technological assistance and is still alive?" "Yes, sir." "And she's steering her fall?" "Yes, sir." "And our sensors can't explain any of this?" "Correct, sir." Another pause. I will be there in 10 minutes. If this is some kind of elaborate prank, I'm going to have you transferred to waste processing duty on the far side of the galaxy. The transmission ended. Vex 9 looked at me with what I interpreted as sympathy. Well, Kane, it's been nice working with you. Sir, she's accelerating. What? I pointed at the scanner. She was falling at terminal velocity. Now she's falling faster than terminal velocity. A lot faster. The human woman had straightened her body into what appeared to be a perfect diving position. Her speed increased exponentially, and the air around her began to glow with friction heat that should have incinerated her instantly. Instead, she seemed to be absorbing the energy somehow, her body becoming brighter and more defined as she descended. Sir, I said, my voice barely above a whisper, I think she's aiming for something specific. What makes you say that? She's heading directly for the central mining complex, the one with our primary power core. Vex 9's 3 eyes focused on the scanner display, and I watched his face cycle through several expressions I didn't recognize. Alert all stations. Emergency Protocol 7. Everyone away from the mining complex. Now, sir, that's our primary operation. If we shut down the mining complex, we will lose weeks of progress. Kane, if that human hits our power core at her current velocity, we will lose a lot more than weeks of progress. We will lose the entire colony. The evacuation alarms began wailing across the facility. Through the observation windows, I could see personnel running toward the emergency shelters. The human woman continued her descent, now glowing like a small star against the pale sky. Impact in 30 seconds, I announced, though I wasn't sure if impact was the right word for what was about to happen. General Thorne's voice crackled through the communication system. All units, this is General Thorne. I want full sensor coverage of the impact site. Whatever happens next, I want it recorded from every possible angle. Sir, I said, should we attempt to communicate with her? Try to warn her about the power core? Kane, I don't think she needs a warning. I think she knows exactly what she's doing. The human woman's trajectory remained perfectly aligned with the mining complex. Her speed continued to increase beyond anything our instruments could accurately measure. The air around her began to ripple with energy, distortions that reminded me of the photographs I'd seen of stellar collapse events. 15 seconds to impact. All personnel, brace for seismic disturbance. Thorne's voice announced. 10 seconds. The human woman's glow intensified. I could see her clearly now, even without the scanner magnification. She was young, maybe 25 in human years. Her hair streamed behind her like liquid fire. Her eyes, even at this distance, seemed to be looking directly at our observation post. 5 seconds. She's smiling, I whispered. What? Sir. She's smiling. The human woman hit the planet's surface with the force of a controlled nuclear detonation. The ground beneath the mining complex didn't just crack. It opened like a flower, revealing layers of geological structure that should have been impossible to reach with our current technology. But that wasn't the strangest part. The strangest part was that she landed on her feet. The impact crater extended for kilometers in every direction. The mining complex had been completely vaporized. The power core that we'd been so worried about protecting had simply disappeared. But at the center of the devastation, standing calmly in a perfect circle of undisturbed ground, was the human woman. She looked up at our observation post, raised one hand in what appeared to be a friendly wave, and began walking toward us. Sir, I said, my voice cracking again. I think she wants to talk. General Thorne's voice came through the communication system, sounding remarkably calm for someone whose primary mining operation had just been obliterated by a walking natural disaster. Operative Kane, prepare the main conference room. It appears we are about to have a very interesting conversation. Sir, should we consider her hostile? Kane, anyone who can survive orbital entry without a spacecraft and then crack a planet's surface with their bare hands is either our new best friend or our new worst enemy. Either way, I think it's best we listen to what she has to say. The human woman continued walking toward us. leaving footprints in the ground that glowed with residual energy. Each step seemed to heal the damage around her, as if the planet itself was grateful for her presence. "Sir," I said, "I think our understanding of human capabilities might need some revision." "Kane, I think our understanding of everything might need some revision." As she approached, I could see her more clearly. She was wearing simple clothing that should have been destroyed by atmospheric entry. Her skin showed no signs of the extreme heat and pressure she'd just endured. And her eyes held an intelligence that seemed far older than her apparent age. "Vex 9, I said. "Start recording everything. Something tells me this is going to be a conversation people will want to hear about." "Already on it, Kane. Though I have a feeling that, after today, nothing is going to be the same." The human woman reached the base of our observation tower and looked up at us. When she spoke, her voice carried clearly through the thin air, as if she was standing right next to us. "Hello," she said, and her tone was pleasant, conversational, as if she hadn't just performed an impossible feat of physics-defying destruction. "I'm Maya Santos. I understand you have been having some problems with your mining operation." I looked at Vex 9. He looked at me. We both looked at the scanner readings that were still insisting that what we'd just witnessed was completely impossible. "Sir," I said to General Thorne, "I think she's here to help. Kane, I think she's here to change everything." Maya Santos smiled up at us, and I had the distinct feeling that our quiet little mining colony was about to become the center of something much bigger than we'd ever imagined. Something that would make our previous understanding of human capabilities seem like a quaint bedtime story. There's something that would make us question everything we thought we knew about the species we'd been so casually dismissing as primitive. And something that would make me very, very glad that Maya Santos appeared to be on our side. At least, I hoped she was on us, because if she wasn't, we were all in serious trouble. The conference room had never felt smaller. Maya Santos sat across from us, looking perfectly comfortable despite having just performed what our scientists were calling the most significant violation of known physics in recorded history. She'd accepted our offer of refreshments with the enthusiasm of someone who hadn't just fallen from orbit, asking specifically for coffee and something sweet. "I'm sorry about your mining operation," she said, stirring sugar into her drink with a spoon that kept bending slightly in her grip. "I know it probably looked aggressive, but I needed to get your attention quickly." General Thorne leaned forward, his forearms folded in what I'd learnt was his intimidation pose. "Ms. Santos, you destroyed our primary extraction facility. You created a crater that will be visible from space for the next 1,000 years. You have single-handedly set back our operation by months. This was your idea of getting our attention." Maya nodded cheerfully. "Well, yes. You see, you were digging in the wrong place." "The wrong place?" "Completely wrong. You were about to drill into something that really shouldn't be disturbed. Something that's been sleeping for a very long time and prefers to stay that way." I checked my scanner readings again, hoping they'd started making sense. They had. "Miss Santos, our geological surveys indicated significant mineral deposits in that exact location. Our readings showed nothing dangerous." "Your readings wouldn't show this particular danger," Maya said, taking a sip of coffee that should have been too hot for any biological creature to consume. "Your technology isn't designed to detect things that exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously." Vex 9's mandibles clicked rapidly. "Multiple dimensions? Are you suggesting that your species has developed interdimensional detection capabilities?" "Not exactly," Maya said, and her smile carried a hint of something that made my survival instinct start screaming. "We didn't develop it. We inherited it." The silence stretched until General Thorne finally spoke. "Inherited it from whom?" "From the previous occupants of this galaxy, the ones who left all those warnings you have been ignoring." "What warnings?" Maya gestured toward the window, where the remains of our mining operation were still smoldering. "The ones carved into every asteroid belt, written in the cosmic background radiation, and encoded in the gravitational patterns of dead stars. The ones that say, in approximately 700 different languages, 'Do not wake the sleepers.'" I felt my stomach drop into my boots. Sleepers, ancient beings. older than most civilizations. They went into hibernation when the galaxy was young, expecting to sleep until the heat death of the universe. Generally speaking, they don't appreciate being disturbed by mining operations. General Thorne's intimidation pose shifted into what I recognized as his trying not to panic pose. And you were telling us we were about to wake one of these beings. Not just wake one, Maya said, finishing her coffee and setting the cup down with enough force to crack the table. You were about to drill directly into its brain. The room went dead silent. Even the environmental systems seemed to pause in respect for the magnitude of what we'd almost done. How, Vex 9 asked carefully, did you know about this? Because 3 days ago it started dreaming. And when something that powerful starts dreaming, sensitive humans can feel it. The dreams weren't pleasant. They involved the complete eradication of all life in this star system, followed by a very long nap. And you decided to handle this alone. General Thorne's voice carried the special tone reserved for questioning someone's sanity. I was the closest human when the dream started. My ship was in the outer system, conducting routine diplomatic surveys. When I felt the sleeper stirring, I realized I had maybe 6 hours before your drilling operation triggered an extinction-level event. 6 hours to travel from the outer system to this planet? Maya nodded. So I took a shortcut. What kind of shortcut? The kind that involves abandoning my ship, wrapping myself in a pocket dimension, and falling through several layers of reality until I could emerge in your atmosphere. I stared at her. You can do that. Most humans can, given sufficient motivation and a complete disregard for personal safety. We are more adaptable than your species gives us credit for. More adaptable? Vex 9 sputtered. You just described casual interdimensional travel as if it were taking a public transport shuttle. Well, it's not that different, really. You just have to be willing to exist in several states simultaneously and trust that you will reassemble correctly on the other side. General Thorne stood up, began pacing, and I could see his mind working through the implications. Miss Santos, are you telling us that humans have had interdimensional travel capabilities this entire time? Not all humans. Maybe 1 in 10,000. And it's not exactly travel. It's more like controlled falling with style. And your government knows about this? Maya's expression shifted, and suddenly she looked far older than her apparent age. What government? Humans don't have a unified government. We have approximately 200 separate political entities, most of which can't agree on basic trade regulations, let alone interdimensional travel protocols. Then who sent you? Nobody sent me. I came because the alternative was watching an entire star system get sterilized by an angry cosmic entity. The communication system crackled to life. General Thorne, this is operations. We are receiving strange energy readings from the crater site. The readings are, well, they are impossible. Define impossible. Operations. Sir, the crater is healing itself. The rock is flowing back into place like liquid. The mineral deposits are restructuring themselves. It's like the planet is repairing the damage, but following a completely different geological blueprint. Maya smiled. That would be the sleeper going back to sleep. I may have been a bit dramatic with my landing, but the impact was precisely calibrated to trigger the correct harmonic frequency. Think of it as a very large, very violent lullaby. You calculated a harmonic frequency while falling from orbit. I had time to think during the descent. Interdimensional travel gives you a unique perspective on mathematics. General Thorne stopped pacing and looked directly at Maya. Miss Santos, I need to ask you a direct question. Are humans a threat to this colony? That depends entirely on how you define threat, General. Are we more dangerous than you initially calculated? Absolutely. Are we planning to conquer your territory or steal your resources? Not particularly. Are we going to intervene if you accidentally trigger another cosmic catastrophe? Probably. And if we don't want your intervention, Maya's smile became genuinely warm. Then I suggest you start paying attention to those warnings I mentioned. The galaxy is full of sleeping things that don't appreciate being disturbed. Some of them are bigger than planets, some of them are older than stars. and some of them are considerably less patient than the one you almost woke up today. I cleared my throat. Miss Santos, how many humans know about these sleeping entities? Enough to keep an eye on things. We have been quietly preventing extinction-level events for about 3,000 years. Usually we don't have to be quite so dramatic about it. 3,000 years, give or take a few centuries. Time gets a bit flexible when you are dealing with interdimensional phenomena. VX9 leaned forward. What happens now? Now you relocate your mining operation to a different site. I will provide you with coordinates for several locations that won't trigger any cosmic entities. You will find the mineral yields are actually better in those areas. And in exchange, you start taking those warnings seriously. You establish protocols for identifying potential sleeper sites. And you acknowledge that humans might be more useful as allies than as subjects for casual dismissal. General Thorne sat back down, his expression thoughtful. Miss Santos, I think our understanding of human capabilities has been inadequate. Most species underestimate humans initially. We tend to look harmless, right up until we are not. And how do we contact you if we encounter another situation like this? Maya reached into her pocket and pulled out what looked like a simple communication device. This will reach the nearest human monitoring station. Response time varies depending on the nature of the threat and the availability of humans willing to fall through reality to help you. How many humans are involved in this monitoring network? Enough. We are distributed throughout the galaxy, keeping an eye on things. Most species never notice us. We prefer it that way. And your governments have no knowledge of this. Our governments have enough trouble managing their own planets. Interdimensional threat monitoring is handled by volunteers. Volunteers? People who can't stand the idea of entire civilizations being accidentally erased because someone drilled in the wrong place. We are surprisingly common among humans. The communication system activated again. General Thorne, the crater site has completely restored itself. The geological structure now matches theoretical models for optimal mineral extraction. Also, sir, we are detecting several new mineral deposits in previously surveyed areas. Maya stood up. That would be my apology gift. The sleeper was grateful for the undisturbed rest and decided to be generous with the local geology. You are leaving. I have a ship to recover and a report to file. Plus there's a situation developing in the Andromeda system that might require attention. What kind of situation? The kind where someone is trying to build a faster-than-light communication array using dark matter conduit. They don't realize they are about to send a wake-up call to something that's been hibernating in the space between galaxies. General Thorne stood up slowly. Miss Santos, I think we need to have a much longer conversation about these sleeping entities. I'd be happy to arrange that. But first, I need to prevent another extinction event. It's been a pleasure meeting you all, and I hope our future interactions will be slightly less dramatic. Maya walked toward the door, then paused. Oh, and General, you might want to update your files on human capabilities. We are full of surprises. She left the conference room, and through the window, I watched her walk back toward the crater site. When she reached the center of the restored area, she simply looked up at the sky and smiled. Then she disappeared, not gradually, not with any visible technology. One moment she was standing there, and the next moment she was gone, leaving only a small distortion in the air that faded after a few seconds. Sir, I said to General Thorne, I think our peaceful little mining operation just became a lot more interesting. Kane, I think our entire understanding of the galaxy just became a lot more complicated. VX9 stared at his scanner, which was registering readings that defied everything we thought we knew about physics. Do you think she was telling the truth about the other sleeping entity? Vex, after what we just witnessed, I think we need to assume that everything she told us was true and that everything we thought we knew about humans was wrong. The communication device Maya had left behind began emitting a soft chime. General Thorne picked it up, and a calm voice emerged from the speaker. This is Human Monitoring Station 7. We understand you have just had contact with one of our field agents. Please note, that Maya Santos has been reassigned to the Andromeda crisis. Your new liaison will be David Park, who should arrive within the next standard week. He's less dramatic than Maya, but equally effective. Please have your geological survey data ready for review. The device went silent. General Thorne set it down carefully, as if it might explode. Sir, I think we need to completely revise our threat assessment protocols. Kane, I think we need to completely revise everything, including our definition of what constitutes a threat, an ally, and a human being. Outside, the restored crater site gleamed in the sunlight, revealing mineral deposits that would make this the most profitable mining operation in the sector. But I couldn't shake the feeling that we'd learned something far more valuable than any amount of ore. We'd learned that the galaxy was full of sleeping giants, and that a species we'd dismissed as primitive had quietly appointed themselves as the guardians who kept those giants from waking up. And we'd learned that sometimes the most impossible things were just Tuesday afternoon for a human with somewhere important to be. The mining operation resumed 3 days later at the new coordinates Maya had provided. The mineral yields exceeded all projections. The geological stability was perfect, and every member of the crew worked with the quiet awareness that somewhere in the galaxy, humans were falling through dimensions to keep the rest of us safe. It was, all things considered, a rather humbling realization. But it was also oddly comforting to know that when the universe got too dangerous for regular people to handle, there were humans willing to step up and handle it anyway, even if their methods were completely insane. 3 weeks later, David Park arrived as promised. Unlike Maya, he came in an actual spacecraft, landed at the designated coordinates, and walked through the front door like a normal person. He was older than Maya, maybe 40 in human years, with graying hair and the kind of calm demeanor that suggested he'd seen everything the universe had to offer and wasn't particularly impressed by any of it. "Good morning," he said, settling into the same chair Maya had occupied. "I understand you have had quite an introduction to human crisis management." General Thorne had prepared for this meeting with the thoroughness of someone who'd learned not to underestimate humans. "Mr. Park, we have several questions about your monitoring network. I'm sure you do. Most species do, once they learn we exist. Coffee would be appreciated, by the way. The interdimensional travel lag is murder on the nervous system." I poured him a cup, noting that he gripped it with perfectly normal human strength. "No bent spoons this time." "Mr. Park," Vex-9 began, "Maya mentioned that your people have been preventing extinction events for 3,000 years. How is this possible without any centralized government coordination?" David smiled, and it was a tired smile. "Have you ever tried to get 7 humans to agree on pizza toppings? Now imagine trying to get 200 governments to agree on interdimensional threat protocols. It's easier to just handle things ourselves, but the logistics alone are surprisingly manageable when you are not bogged down by bureaucracy. We identify individuals with the necessary abilities, provide basic training, and turn them loose. Natural selection takes care of the rest." Natural selection. People who are bad at interdimensional travel tend to not survive their first mission. It's a very effective screening process. General Thorne leaned forward. "Mr. Park, exactly how many humans have these abilities?" "Abilities vary. Maybe 1 in 10,000 can do basic dimensional shifting. 1 in 100,000 can survive unprotected atmospheric entry. 1 in a million can do what Maya did without significant preparation time. And Maya is 1 in 10 million. She's also completely insane, which helps with the job requirements. The job requirements include insanity. Sane people don't volunteer to fall through reality to save strangers. Sane people don't throw themselves at cosmic entities armed with nothing but mathematical calculations and stubborn determination. Sane people don't look at an extinction-level threat and think, "I can fix this with creative physics." I found myself laughing despite everything. "So, you are all crazy? Functionally insane, yes. But we are very good at what we do." The communication system activated. "General Thorne, we are receiving a priority transmission from the Galactic Council. They are requesting immediate information about recent seismic activity in this sector. David's expression shifted to something more serious. That would be the ripple effect. Maya's landing sent shockwaves through several dimensional layers. The Council probably detected the energy signature. Is that a problem? Depends on how you handle it. They are going to want explanations, and they are not going to like the answers. General Thorne accepted the transmission. This is General Thorne, Kepler Mining Colony 7. General Thorne, this is Council Member Zara 3 of the Galactic Monitoring Division. Our sensors detected a Class 7 dimensional disturbance in your sector. Please provide immediate explanation for this event. David held up his hand, mouthing, "Let me handle this." General Thorne nodded and handed him the communication device. Council Member Zara 3, this is David Park, Human Monitoring Network. The dimensional disturbance was a controlled intervention to prevent awakening of a Class Alpha sleeper entity. The silence stretched long enough that I wondered if the communication had failed. Mr. Park, are you claiming that humans have Class Alpha threat detection capabilities? I'm claiming that humans have been preventing Class Alpha incidents for approximately 3 millennia. This particular intervention prevented the awakening of an entity that would have sterilized this entire star system. This is impossible. Our records show no evidence of human involvement in cosmic threat management. Your records show no evidence because we have been doing our job correctly. When we prevent an extinction event, there's no evidence left behind because the extinction event never happens. Mr. Park, I need to speak with you in person. Immediately. I'm currently assigned to liaison duties with the Kepler colony. I can be available for council consultation in approximately 6 standard days. 6 days is unacceptable. This matter requires immediate attention. David's voice took on a tone that made my survival instincts start paying attention. Council Member Zara 3, I have 17 active threat assessments pending across 4 different star systems. 2 of them involve potential reality cascade failures. 1 involves a species that's accidentally breeding sentient black holes. The remaining 14 are garden-variety cosmic entity management situations. Your scheduling preferences are noted, but not particularly relevant. Mr. Park, you cannot simply dismiss council authority. I'm not dismissing council authority, I'm prioritizing based on threat level. Your desire for explanations ranks somewhere below preventing the collapse of local space-time. This conversation is not over. No, it's not, but it's postponed until I finish preventing several extinction events. Have a pleasant day, Council Member. David handed the communication device back to General Thorne. That's going to cause problems. What kind of problems? The kind where they send a council investigation team to verify our claims. They will want to examine the sleeper site, interview witnesses, and generally make a nuisance of themselves. Is that bad? It's not good. Council investigation teams have a tendency to wake up the things we have worked very hard to keep asleep. They also have a tendency to ignore safety protocols and assume they know better than the people who have been handling these situations for centuries. Vex 9 clicked his mandibles nervously. What do you recommend? I recommend we prepare for the possibility that your quiet little mining colony is about to become the center of a very loud diplomatic incident. And if the council team wakes up the sleeper. David finished his coffee and set the cup down gently. Then Maya will have to come back and fix things, and she will be significantly less patient the second time around. How much less patient? The last time someone woke up a sleeper, Maya had put to sleep. She relocated an entire moon to serve as a barrier between the entity and the nearest inhabited system. She moved a moon. She had 3 other humans and a very understanding physics professor who happened to be vacationing in the area. General Thorne sat back heavily in his chair. Mr. Park, I think we need to have a very long conversation about human capabilities. I was hoping you'd say that. But first, I need to update your threat assessment protocols. Because if the council team does wake up the sleeper, you are going to need to evacuate this entire system in approximately 6 hours. 6 hours. That's how long it takes a fully awakened Class Alpha entity to sterilize a star system. Unless someone intercepts it. in which case the timeline depends on how creative the interceptor is feeling. And how creative do humans typically feel when facing extinction-level threats? David smiled, and it was the same smile Maya had worn when she'd looked up at our observation post. Mr. General, humans facing extinction-level threats don't typically worry about what's possible. We worry about what's necessary. And what's necessary in this situation? What's necessary is that you trust us to handle things that are beyond your current technological capabilities. What's necessary is that you understand that the universe is far more dangerous than your species realize, and what's necessary is that you accept that sometimes the most impossible solutions are the only ones that work. The communication system activated again. General Thorne, long-range sensors are detecting an incoming Council investigation vessel. Estimated arrival: 4 standard days. David stood up. Well, that's faster than I expected. I will need to contact Maya immediately. Why? Because Council investigation teams travel with their own dimensional scanning equipment, and when they scan the sleeper site, they are going to detect resonance patterns that will wake up everything within 100 light-years. Everything. Mr. General, this galaxy has been inhabited for billions of years. Most of the previous inhabitants didn't die, they just went to sleep. And when one of them wakes up, they tend to wake up their neighbors. The room went silent, except for the hum of the environmental systems. Mr. Park, I said quietly, how many of these sleeping entities are there? In this galaxy, conservative estimate, several million. Optimistic estimate, several 100,000. And they are all as dangerous as the one under our mining site. Some are more dangerous. Some are less dangerous. Some are just really, really grumpy when awakened. And humans have been managing all of them. We have been managing the ones that pose immediate threats to inhabited systems. The ones in deep space can sleep as long as they want. General Thorne looked out the window at the restored crater site. Mr. Park, I think our species owes humanity a significant debt. Your species owes humanity nothing. We are not doing this for gratitude or recognition. We are doing it because someone has to, and we are apparently the only species crazy enough to volunteer. But why? Why take on this responsibility? David was quiet for a long moment. Because we know what it's like to be alone in the dark. Because we know what it's like to face something bigger than ourselves. And because we know that sometimes the only thing standing between civilization and oblivion is someone willing to do impossible things. And you are willing to do impossible, Iten? Mr. General, we are humans. Impossible things are what we do best. The communication device began chiming again. David picked it up, and Maya's voice filled the room. David, I'm finishing up the Andromeda situation. How badly did the Council mess things up? They are sending an investigation team, ETA 4 days. Oh, for the love of, do they have any idea what they are dealing with? They think they are investigating an isolated dimensional disturbance. Right. I will be there in 2 days. Try to keep everyone alive until then. Maya, how are you going to get here in 2 days? The Andromeda system is. I'm taking the express route. It's going to be unpleasant. But it's faster than explaining to the Council why half the galaxy just woke up. The express route. Maya, that's incredibly dangerous. David, everything we do is incredibly dangerous. That's why they pay us the big money. We don't get paid. Then it's a good thing we are all insane. The communication ended. David looked at us with an expression I couldn't quite read. Gentlemen, I suggest you prepare for the possibility that your understanding of physics is about to be challenged again. Maya, taking the express route means she's going to arrive in a manner that makes her previous entrance look subtle. What's the express route? Something involving folded space, compressed time, and a complete disregard for the structural integrity of reality. General Thorne rubbed his temples. Mr. Park, I think we need to evacuate the colony. Mr. General, I think we need to evacuate the system. And outside, the restored crater site began to glow with a soft, pulsing light that seemed to be counting down to something.